We've just spent a couple of hours talking about the reasons that the media and some academics, like those in Refusing to Forget, believe we should spend the Ranger Bicentennial and every other year focused on just the dark side of Ranger history. So, what should we take away from all of this? Is the Ranger history without blemish? Of course not. The years of the Mexican Revolution are particularly dark. Rangers, local law enforcement, raiders, everybody killed some innocent people, and that's just a fact. Anyone who points out flaws in Refusing to Forget's arguments is deemed a defender of the Anglo or a defender of the Ranger myth. In other words, to ask for or to provide historical context, in their opinion, is to be on the wrong side of history. That's pretty rich coming from a group of people with PhDs, some of whom are historians who were allegedly trained to provide that context themselves. Their claims are of an emotional nature, and very few are backed by evidence. Most are backed by hearsay presented at the 1919 Canales hearings or by family stories. Now, if Refusing to Forget said to the public this was a time of racial tension and violence on both sides, let's remember the victims of this awful time together. We know that Mexican authorities practiced summary justice. We know that Texas authorities engaged in summary justice. We know the U.S. Army at very least wanted to mete out summary justice. Here's the evidence that we have. Let's talk about it. No reasonable person would turn away from that. No reasonable person would fail to condemn violence on both sides, even that committed by the Texas Rangers. Instead, though, Refusing to Forget used sources out of context to backfill their sweeping condemnation of the Rangers, while omitting the layers of context required of professional historians. And they've been allowed to skate by on bad scholarship courtesy of sympathetic peers who are supposedly tasked with preventing bad scholarship with peer review.
When we write histories, they're peer reviewed. And so professional historians send their writings, their essays, their books to other historians who read those, who are experts in the topic and may have looked at those archives, and they assess the work. Is this done accurately? Is this a correct reading of this document? And sometimes there's room for interpretation, but the work of historians is also vetted by other historians. And when we publish work in accredited journals, it helps to bring a standard of methods and analysis that is really important to the process.
What does Refusing to Forget want? Well, originally they wanted state recognition of their claims, which they partially got in the form of some historical markers around the valley. Those historical markers bear the marks of their sloppy scholarship, though, which is a problem for public history. They had a temporary exhibit at the Bullock Museum in, I think, 2016, which is this year traveling to Texas universities and respected institutions like the Holocaust Museum in Houston. Given what we know about their scholarship, this, again, is a problem for public history. They would like the Texas Ranger Hall of Fame and Museum to dedicate more space to their claims. They'd like the Texas Rangers baseball team to change its name. And they also call for a state Truth and Reconciliation Commission to talk about redress for the families of those who were killed. And they want their claims taught in Texas public schools. You know, as humans, I think we're wired to root for the underdog. I doubt there are many among us who don't feel sympathy for the families of innocent men of any race killed during a time of guerrilla warfare and absolute chaos. We hate to think of how we would feel if something similar happened to one of our family members and there was no justice served. Refusing to Forget disrupts that natural sympathy when they exaggerate the numbers, blatantly ignore Americans slaughtered in Mexico, prop up their claims with flimsy evidence, strip the events of context, and pretend that conditions in 2023 are the same as conditions in 1918. Now, I'm guessing this won't be the last time that we talk about this, but I hope that the context we've provided you here helps you understand who is driving the headlines and how intellectually dishonest the scholarship behind those headlines truly is. I hope that Texas journalists who publish the headlines will take a harder look at the activist scholars that they choose to champion. Until next time, God in Texas, y'all.